If 2025 was supposed to be the year Airbus would pull ahead and exploit Boeing's turmoil across the Atlantic, reality had other plans. While Boeing faced safety scandals, high-profile accidents, and prolonged delays in both the 737 MAX program and the 7X wide-body project, many assumed Airbus only had to stay steady to win. Yet, no one expected Airbus itself to fall into the most serious crisis it had encountered in over a decade. What exactly went wrong at Airbus? And how has Boeing been handling this turbulent period? Let's dive in. Airbus started 2025 with a massive backlog of orders, strong market demand, and a clear competitive edge as Boeing struggled through ongoing setbacks. Yet, instead of soaring in this seemingly perfect window of opportunity, Airbus became mired in a cascade of problems that disrupted its entire production strategy, one that had been poised to set a new industry benchmark. Surprisingly, it all began with a detail nobody could have foreseen. In mid-2025, Airbus discovered a serious manufacturing defect in fuselage panels supplied by Soft Aero. These panels, which require exact precision, were produced with incorrect thickness. While the deviation was small enough for outsiders to overlook, it was significant enough to raise concerns about the aircraft's long-term structural integrity. The impact was immediate. Hundreds of A320 and A321neo jets on the assembly line were affected, and even planes already delivered to airlines were potentially at risk. Airlines were forced to conduct urgent inspections, each taking 3 to 5 weeks, a serious problem when carriers were operating at full capacity to meet soaring demand. For Airbus, this was a direct hit to its delivery schedule, particularly at year-end when each aircraft delivered has a huge effect on revenue and financial reporting. Then, before fixing the manufacturing defect, Airbus faced a historic event, a worldwide recall of roughly 6,000 A320 family aircraft, one of the largest in commercial aviation history. The cause? A software vulnerability linked to geomagnetic storms that could mislead the flight control system under certain conditions. In aviation, where every input relies on absolute precision, this was too big a risk to ignore. Regulators mandated immediate software updates, and some aircraft even needed hardware modifications, sending maintenance costs to record highs. Dozens of planes were grounded as engineering teams worked around the clock. This incident not only stressed operators but also shook market confidence in Airbus, long seen as a symbol of reliability. Just when Airbus needed to accelerate to make up for lost ground, supply chain bottlenecks returned. On the A320neo line, persistent GTF engine issues from Pratt & Whitney slowed production. Thousands of engines worldwide required detailed inspections and long-term maintenance, limiting assembly speed as orders continued to pile up. Shortages of high-tech components, from avionics to semiconductors, pushed assembly lines to the brink. The wide-body programs faced similar setbacks. The A350, expected to be Airbus's trump card in the wide-body market, struggled to exceed 6 units per month. Delays stemmed from supplier issues with major fuselage sections, a shortage of skilled labor, and repeated postponements in launching the A350F freighter variant. Cargo operators, hoping to replace aging fleets, grew frustrated as deliveries slipped by at least a year, risking Airbus's competitive edge. These compounding problems forced Airbus to revise its 2025 delivery target, cutting it from roughly 820 aircraft down to about 790. This isn't just a short-term hiccup. With a massive backlog and stressed production lines, Airbus now expects delays to persist for up to 3 years, directly impacting delivery schedules well into the late 2020s. By the end of 2025, Airbus also lagged Boeing in new orders, a key metric. The European manufacturer secured 722 orders, solid but signaling a slowdown just when momentum was crucial. Boeing, meanwhile, closed the year with 836 orders, showing a gradual recovery in demand despite its ongoing crisis. Though the gap seems small on paper, symbolically it was huge. After years of staying ahead, Airbus had suffered a notable setback. Even amid operational chaos, Boeing attracted more customers than Airbus, highlighting the erosion of Airbus's competitive advantage. If Airbus struggled with manufacturing bottlenecks, supplier mistakes, and technical defects, Boeing faced a far deeper crisis, one that hit the core of the company. Airbus battled capability issues. Boeing faced a crisis of confidence, from regulators, customers, and even its own workforce. As 2025 began, Boeing was already navigating a backlog of investigations, audits, and safety reviews accumulated over prior years. Then, days before the Paris Air Show, an Air India 787 incident occurred. While ultimately attributed to pilot error, doubts about possible structural or component issues struck at Boeing's most sensitive wound long-standing concerns about quality control. Instead of showcasing recovery and technological progress, Boeing faced intensified scrutiny from the FAA, Europe's EASA, and regulators in Asia. The message was clear: the world no longer accepted Boeing's assurances without independent verification. The result? A halt in securing type certification for crucial aircraft variants. The 737 MAX 7 and MAX 10, essential for competing with Airbus's A320neo and A321neo, missed certification timelines. For airlines, these delays weren't just administrative. They deprived carriers of fuel-efficient, high-demand narrow-body jets during a capacity crunch. Wide-body programs fared no better. The 7X program, particularly the 77-9, is now projected for 2027 or later. Unlike Airbus, whose problems originated largely from supply chain issues, Boeing's obstacles stemmed from regulatory caution. The FAA, under political and public pressure, adopted a conservative approach, demanding thorough validation of engines, wing loading, structural margins, and flight control software before approving aircraft for commercial use. Instead of ramping up production, Boeing had to slow down, reassess, and ensure all engineering and verification processes were airtight. The contrast is clear. Airbus constrained by supply, Boeing constrained by trust. Airbus's challenges, though severe, fall within a repairable framework of logistics, supplier accountability, and industrial organization. Boeing's challenge is more existential, restoring credibility that now shadows every certification, inspection, and delivery. From an airline perspective, neither manufacturer won 2025. Airbus battled a stressed system. Boeing battled a doubted system. Both contributed to an industry-wide logjam. Airlines emerging from pandemic recovery expected 2025 to accelerate fleet renewal, but instead faced grounded A321neos awaiting panel inspections, 737 MAX variants stuck in certification limbo, delayed 7X programs, and wait times extending deep into the decade. Unlike Airbus, which voluntarily lowered delivery targets due to supply disruptions, Boeing's production rate was capped by regulators, around 38 aircraft per month for the 737 MAX. Even that target was hard to sustain after the Air India incident. Only by May 2025 did Boeing regain that pace. Production stabilized slightly in the fourth quarter, with 55 aircraft delivered in September and 53 in October. Yet Airbus delivered 78 aircraft in October alone, pulling ahead. Despite regulatory pressure, Boeing saw year-over-year improvement. In October 2025, it delivered far more than in October 2024, when a 7-week West Coast strike limited deliveries to just 14 aircraft. By the end of October 2025, Boeing had delivered 493 commercial planes, 377 737s, 68 787s, 31 317s, and 24 767s, surpassing total deliveries for all of 2024, which was 348. It marked a fragile but genuine sign of recovery. However, in November 2025, the 737 MAX production rate slipped to around 32 aircraft, showing that stronger quality protocols, while essential, disrupted manufacturing momentum. Boeing had to trade speed for compliance, prioritizing regulator and customer confidence over output. Ultimately, total deliveries for 2025 fell below expectations, leaving Boeing behind Airbus in absolute numbers. So, 2025 wasn't a story of one manufacturer failing while the other triumphed. Both giants struggled, for different reasons, to meet promises made to customers. Airbus wrestled with a stressed system. Boeing battled a system in doubt. The global aviation market now faces unprecedented constraints, forcing airlines to navigate a future where supply cannot keep pace with demand. No matter how urgently carriers need planes, the ones they expected to be flying in 2025 remain delayed.